of Real Flight. Real Flight. Here we go. We're gonna jump into this. Now, if you guys have not seen the previous episode, you probably want to go back and watch that so that you understand what I'm going to be talking about right now. But yeah, just generally speaking, a lot of cool stuff is going on in the world. Some of it cool, some of it not so cool, depending on where your stance is on stuff. On stuff. So some find it cool, some find it not so cool. But there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. Different ways of doing things. And so some people like that, some people don't like that. But what we're going to jump into, as I said before, is we're going to continue on where we left off last time. And let's see, is this all in the right spot and stuff? I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say if it's in the right spot. And then, the Vilta might decide to move around, which it's done and loves to do on so many occasions. I'm still trying to figure out why the Opera doesn't work on this computer anymore for some reason. For some reason, it doesn't work anymore. Sometimes you can delete it, then try to turn it back on. Reinstall it, and then when it reinstalls, if you close it, then you try to open it again, it doesn't open. I don't know. It's odd. Been using Opera for a lot since I started using Opera at the end of the pandemic. Not at the end of the pandemic. At somewhere between the beginning of the pandemic and maybe like a couple of months into the pandemic, because I was getting tired of using Google Chrome. It was just getting bogged down by just too much stuff going on. Like the thing is, sometimes when they try to overdo it with stuff, put too much stuff on it, it just runs slow. And so at that point during the beginning of the pandemic, it was just getting out of control, and I stopped using Google Chrome after that. I was using another software too, another one of those theme poodles. What was the name of it? I think it was Firefox. I still occasionally use Firefox, just not as much as I used to. It's still relatively streamlined, so it doesn't take up too much of your RAM when you're using it. But Google Chrome has gotten out of control. It went from being like one of the absolute best systems ever to getting suddenly bogged down by a lot of stuff. It's just a little bit too much. It's a little bit too much. One of the ones that I like for Linux, and again, it depends on which Linux version you're running, but on the Raspberry Pi, Midori, I think it means green, I'm not sure. Anyway, Midori is the one that I use over there. Anyway, Raspberry Pis, great things to use. Not as good as this cool helicopter here, but I do love Raspberry Pis and the technology that you can do and run on those little microcomputers. So powerful. You can run pretty much all the fun retro style video games on them, except the GameCube. GameCube is an issue with those things. I don't know if by the time we get the Raspberry Pi 5, which eventually will exist, I think. We're still on the 4 right now, but maybe by the time we have the Raspberry Pi 5, they will have figured out all the issues with the Raspberry Pi, and maybe the GameCube games will run appropriately on there. But yeah, most of the other games work, and some of the games that you would think would require more RAM and processing power actually work better. It would seem like some of the newer platforms seem to run better. I'm not sure why that is. Some experts might be able to tell me, and leave it in the comments. Anyway, as I said before, I'm going to continue on where we left off yesterday. The American dream has changed. A lot of people are making it in the world, and they're making it in different ways. Especially a lot of women are making it in the world in other ways that are absolutely different and unheard of, because it's not from an office space. It's not from the traditional ways of doing things. They're doing it differently using social media and stuff, and of course that is going to arise all kinds of things. Some people think it's great, some people think it's horrible. I'm not going to get into any of that. But I will say this, because I did watch that Valuetainment episode. I did watch that cool Valuetainment episode. Again, shout out to everybody that showed up on there. That was a very interesting podcast with video that I got to see. And one of the things with podcasts that I'm not so big on is that some of them are just designed to be listened to, and you don't get to see the images. I think that's part of the reason why I never jumped into that Spotify kind of thing. I know that it is more popular. I think Spotify is getting more popular than a lot of other systems and stuff. But if you're just running your voice without images, a lot of times it's not as fun to watch. I mean sometimes you'll just listen to it. Like if you're in the car or something, then you'll listen to a podcast or a YouTube video without the visuals, because it's too dangerous to be actually observing the screen at all times. You want to make sure you're watching the road at all times. But that's just my take on that. I still prefer the visuals together with the audio. Anywho, so here's my problem with some of the things that are going on in the modern age, because you're always going to get those people who are going to just completely bash on these people and say, well, these girls, like they're not marriage material and all that kind of stuff. But these girls, they're asking for too much and all that stuff. But I'm not gonna go that angle with this, because as I always say, there's like 8 billion, possibly more than 8 billion. I would even go as far as saying 9 billion eyeballs in this world. So with that many eyeballs, there's always going to be somebody out there that's going to be able to do and provide the dream or whatever, the vision, that we're talking about. Women like to be given ideas, or being sold a dream. That is what makes them go wild and be willing to get married with somebody, right? So that was what they said. That's not my words, it's their words. Is what they said on the show. So here's my angle though. They are selling a dream, because they're not being sold a dream at that point in the show. They were selling a dream, and the dream was, this is what we want. Like, I don't know if you guys ever watched that video, that movie, What Women Want. So basically they were just doing that. They were just giving a bunch of guys out there in the field saying, this is what we want. If you want to get with us, if you want to marry us, this is what we're going to be expecting of you. So it was like they wanted somebody like, somewhere in between 3 to 10 million per year. They want to make that. They wanted to have a crazy, on top of everything else, like on top of the basic, what do you call that thing, universal basic income of like $1,000 per month. They want like everything, like obviously roof over their head, mansion, the car, the everything, and on top of that, all kinds of other things, to stay as beautiful as they are, whatever. So that came around to about four grand of extra pocket money on top of all the other stuff. And most people would say, well, that's impossible. Nobody out there with that kind of money is going to be interested in these girls. And I'm going to say You're wrong. I'm going to say you're wrong. Again, 8 billion people. Even if you just count it or round it off to 8 billion people on planet Earth, there's bound to be at least one. There's bound at least one person who's going to go, okay, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you exactly what you asked for. But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Are these women going to be happy? Do you think that if they get all the things that they said in the podcast, that they are going to be happy? Are they going to attract the kind of man that they truly believe is ideal? And even if they are exactly the way that they want, which is still a possibility. I mean, 8 billion people. There might be one. There might be one out there willing to give them exactly what they want and be the exact man that they want. It might even, let's go crazy. They might even decide to never cheat on them. They might decide to give them all of that and never cheat on them. But with all of that, do you think that these women are going to be happy? And this is where I'm coming from. I'm going to unpack this for you guys. I am going to say no. And the reason why that is because these are beautiful women who currently, on their own, are making a killing. They're really making a killing. They're making a lot of money. They're making more money, right? They're making more money than I will ever see in possibly 2 lifetimes. And they're making that kind of money yearly. So yeah, I mean, they're making that yearly. They're confident women. They're well-spoken women. They're competent women. They're obviously very, very good at what they do. And their plan is to just give up all of that power, control, money, and ability to do things for the purpose of, becoming a wife and a mother. Okay, so again, that is I'm not saying that those are not lofty goals. I'm not saying that. In fact, those are very lofty goals. What could be better than being a wife and a mother? Amazing things. But we're talking about alphas. We're talking about women that are alphas. They're boss ladies and all that good stuff. And for them to go out and relinquish all of that control, all of that power, and all of that stuff, to just turn themselves into a housewife, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see them being happy in that role. I don't see them. I mean, if they were saying, okay, well, we're going to continue doing what we're doing, and we're going to be a mother and all that kind of stuff, that might work, but then they wouldn't have the time. They wouldn't have the time to dedicate to their children and stuff and all that stuff. And they wouldn't be able to take up the whole shebang of duties that comes with marriage and stuff like that. Plus the man would not most likely allow it. And even if they did, again, as I said before, they would not be happy, in my opinion. And part of that is this, right? One of the things that people don't realize before they get married is they have all these ideas and expectations and all that good stuff. And then after they get married, they realize that maybe that's not exactly what they wanted. So let's say that these women that right now can do whatever they want, whenever they want, they have all the power in the world, they have all the assets, they have all the cards in their hand right now. So they're young, they're pretty, they're successful, they're well spoken, all of that stuff, which you might not think is very important, but it is. And then all of a sudden, they become a wife, right? They become a wife, so they no longer are able to do all of that stuff that they are able to do now on their own. They have to rely and depend, right? So it's like they just used to have everything, right? And now all of a sudden they're in shackles, if you will. They are now enslaved or part of the marriage, so that limits their freedom. The freedom they currently have absolute freedom. The freedom that, regardless of how they achieve that freedom, that pretty much every man, every woman wants, and they're just relinquishing all of that, giving it up pretty much entirely in order to what? To be a wife and a mother. One could argue that that is never going to be something that's going to be enough for them, right? Remember that movie? Never be enough. It will never be enough for her or for them, right? It will never be enough for them. You might think that it is, but just because you have one opinion now, before you're in the actual position of that role, you don't know. You don't know. You might think it is. It might. And again, I could be wrong. It might be enough, but I could be really right. And if that becomes a situation, then they are going to feel trapped like in a cage. They are going to feel so trapped in a cage. And especially with people who are really good at making money, it is somewhat of an addiction. If you are really, really, really good at something, no matter what it is, or if you are really, really somebody who craves a certain thing, it could be alcohol. And that thing that you do, whatever it is, whether it is making money, like gazillions of dollars, whether it is drinking alcohol or taking drugs, whatever it is, that you are so incredibly passionate about and whatever, if it goes to the point where it's impeding your ability to live your life and do the things that you're supposed to do, like chores and all that good stuff, then it becomes an addiction, right? If you're a father or your mother, whatever it is, and you are so addicted with making money, but you're not able to spend any time at all with your kids or whatever it is, then that is an addiction. That becomes an addiction, right? So, my angle here is, okay, maybe they get exactly what they want, but is that going to ever be enough? And another thing that you'll notice is, they're putting down some ground rules and stuff and whatever. So let's say that they believe right now that from now until the end of time, $4,000, $4,000 per month as their pocket money, right? As their pocket money is everything that they'll ever need. Well, what happens? What happens if at some point in the relationship they realize that things have changed, the way that they're living their lives has changed, and the 4,000 is not enough anymore. Well, they entered into an agreement or a prenup, whatever it is, where that is the limit. But again, some people are never happy with whatever they have. I've known people that are just unhappy no matter what you do. You could try whatever you want to make them happy, and they will just never be happy. Being happy is something that has a lot to do with yourself. It's not necessarily something that has to do with the things that you have in your life, the commodities that you have in your life, and all that stuff there. It has a lot to do with, are you okay with the current circumstances of your life, and is that enough for you? And if it's, again, this is not saying that everybody's like this, but a lot of people that I know that are alphas, they will never be able to accept anything less than unlimited, right? The sky's the limit, and there is nothing else but the unlimitedness of it that is what is acceptable. I will never be happy until I make this amount of money. You make that amount of money, and then all of a sudden, I'm not happy anymore. I want to make more money. I now have one amazing car. That one car is not enough. I need two. I need three until you find yourself with a mansion with 25 stalls for all of your vehicles and plus. will it ever be enough? So that is my angle there, you guys, for today. And again, I'm not bashing people. I'm not bashing. These are, as I said before, these are beautiful women, very successful, and many people will say bad things about them, but usually that ends up being part of the jealousy of the things. And people who are very traditional will not accept the way in which other people have done and achieved the same goals. But that leads me to a next thing. The next thing is, well, wait a second. We are, as a society, so easily able to point fingers at people for doing things the way that they've done them. But at the same time, what is the alternative, right? Is there a viable alternative in the modern world that allows women and men and other people to do and get to the where these women have gotten by regular means? Is there? Or is that famous bar that I always keep saying and talking about, is that bar constantly either being lowered or raised based on whether you're doing the limbo or you're doing pole vaults, to the point where people are just like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to do it this way because this way works. And this way, although is considered to be completely ungodly by some people and so bad, but it also comes back to the level of humiliation, right? There's a certain level of humiliation that human beings are willing to go through, right? Be it at their jobs or being with their partners, there's a certain level of humiliation they're willing to go through. But here's the thing. What if the level of humiliation that you get from your current job, it could be flipping burgers, it could be anything, or it could be any job at all. It could be like you could be a CPA. You could be a CPA, and you have a terrible boss. You have a terrible boss, and your boss, whether it be a man or a woman or a non-binary, doesn't really matter. Your boss is just the worst, and you go to your job every day, and you make whatever a CPA makes. I don't know, and your boss is constantly humiliating you. You're willing to take that abuse because you have no other options. Obviously, that is the job that you do, that you've chosen for yourself, blah, blah, blah. But you find out that there's other ways where the humiliation is roughly on par with what you're doing at your current job, but you're making 3 or 4 times the money that you're making at that job. And so you think, well, I'm getting humiliated anyway. I'm getting humiliated anyway. Why am I doing this job when I could be doing this other job? I'm getting humiliated, but I'm making 3 times as much. Just saying. Just saying, right? So anyway, with that little nugget, I'm going to leave you guys, and I am going to hopefully doing a nice landing here. And I'm going to tell you guys to be ballsy and relaxing and all that stuff. But think about these things. Think about these things, because it's so easy. It's so easy to point fingers at other people and say, you are so ungodly, the things that you do. But society doesn't really provide you with an alternative that is a viable alternative. And you're getting humiliated in one way. You're getting humiliated one way or another. But if you're going to go through that humiliation, why not make the extra money that you can make? It's, again, as I said, it's so easy to point fingers at people for the things that they do. Oh, well, he's bad for this. Oh, he's bad for that, or whatever it is. But try to look at the situation and try to think, maybe society is not providing the solutions that we need to do it a different way, right? To do it a different way, to do it a better way, the way that we want it to be done, the way that's reasonable, the way that's not ungodly or whatever. Is society providing that to us? And if not, then can we really point fingers at these people? Anyway, so as I said before, this is the thing that I wanted to say, that point out. And with that, I'm going to leave you guys. But most importantly, we're going to go through what I always do at the end of my live streams. I'm going to say, go out and be ballsy and do something good. I'm going to say, get yourself some really good pancakes if you haven't. And look at this. Look and notice how well focused that is. Let's do that again. Let's do that again. Because I just can't get over how cool that is now. It used to be absolutely pathetic and horrible how this thing used to focus. And now, look at that. The autofocus is brilliant. It's brilliant. So I'm going to thank again my usual people here. Thank you. And also thank you, of course, to Captain Drone and his beautiful family for helping me with this. So Horizon Hobby and Spectrum. Spectrum for sending me the brand new batteries. I'm so happy for that. Thank you. And Horizon Hobby for providing me with this awesome tool here, the Real Flight Evolution, that allows me to fly and practice my flying so that then I can go and fly when the weather's a little better. My Aero Scout, my big Aero Scout. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.